Auburn basketball week 1 is officially done, folks. We are excited. And look, by the time you're maybe watching, listening to this, if you're catching the replay, audio or visual, we've already really kicked it off for week 2 because there's women's and men's on Monday and Tuesday, and we do this on a Sunday evening. So just understand we're doing our best to keep you covered on this in the fly here. Week 1, wow. Let's talk about the men real quick. Really exciting way to start the year. Bethune-Cookman, you hope, you think people just think about names and you think you're just going to walk all over someone. And then you forget, especially if you're someone, just putting myself in the driver's seat here, that covers this, that talks about this for a living. You're aware that at least Bethune-Cookman is expected to win the SWAC. And so, Coach Burgomaster, the rest of the staff, how they've been great, even under Bruce, about scheduling tough mid-major opponents, no matter where they're from, no matter who they are, no matter what their name says to you. That game was scary. Overtime win, first one for Mr. Stephen Pearl, and a little bit scary there, wasn't it? We clinched up a little bit, didn't we, Austin?
Just a little bit. I thought a lot about how we just dismissed the first 3 games when we were going through our schedule prediction last week, and I thought, dadgummit, here we go. But yeah, they got tested quick, and a lot of credit should go to Bethune-Cookman for just shooting the lights out. They had some guys who could absolutely shoot on the perimeter, and Auburn was in trouble for a while there. Thankfully, they pull it out, show a lot of resolve in OT, and are able to find a way. But definitely had some people worried. So I'm pretty excited that Auburn was able to pull it out. And it's Bethune-Cookman, but you get tested a little bit early.
Yeah, the test, I think, is probably a good thing for the fans, a good thing for the team, just to remind that it's not going to come easy to you just because a legacy has been built here, just because Pearl is still attached to the head coaching position. And again, I struggle with the overreaction at times from fans, and I have to remind myself that people think that they're informed on these things and they're not, and that's what our job is here to do. And so I hope that you'll listen when we tell you not to overreact to things. Am I saying in any way that there weren't things that need to be worked on? Clearly there were. You gave up 90 points, 95-90 win in overtime to Bethune-Cookman. You can't have those things happen every game, especially against SEC competition. But, obviously first game, first opportunity for this team to play together. You couple that with the Merrimack win, 95-57. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, I don't know a lot about Merrimack. It's the first time I've probably even heard of them, to be honest with you. And
Are you kidding?
I know. I tried my hardest to pull out where I've heard Merrimack before, and maybe somewhere in some bracket in the past.
They were at 15 sometime, not that long ago. I feel pretty confident.
You're probably right, but that's that. I'm just being brutally honest here. That was the team on the schedule.
First time Auburn ever played them. We talked about lists already.
Yeah,
this was a cross off.
We crossed it off. There's still a long list of that on Clint Richardson's. We'll do that again. We'll update that later on about who we want to play there some other time. I think so. There's your week for the men. You've got 2 wins under your belt. Wofford coming up next, but I think the story is not that Tahad didn't play good at times. I think he's still working on getting his shot down a little bit more consistently to start off the year. He's still doing Tahad things, but Keyshawn Hall in 2 games, my goodness. Do you wonder if you're Bruce Pearl? Do you maybe I should have stuck around just so I could be able to coach this guy? I know you brought him in, but what a week for Keyshawn.
Incredible week for Keyshawn, and I think that you're seeing him be the scorer that a lot of people predicted him to be after leading the Big 12 in scoring last year, and I think I'm not disagreeing with you on Tahad. I just think that it's a little bit more of he's the player everyone zeroed in on, especially early in this year. For Bethune-Cookman and Merrimack, who have heard about Tahad Pettiford and watched him in the Final Four and everything. He's who's zeroed in on. Now, I think that I'm seeing his passing game be a lot more advanced than it was because he was more getting past 2 last year. I think he's finding guys a little bit easier and looking to get other people involved a little bit more. His scoring is going to come. I'm really not worried about his scoring at all. I think if you can pair him with pair his scoring and what we know he is capable of with what Keyshawn Hall is doing, Auburn's offense gets immediately better. And this is already an offense that's scoring 95 a game. So very, very impressive. Lots of things still coming together. I've been really, really impressed with Sebastian William Adams so far.
Yes.
I think
Yep.
Sway is what Andy
Sway.
and Brad have been calling him. Just a very, very looks the part. I went to one of these games this week. I don't know if I told you that. A lot of you are probably saying, "Oh, I bet it was Bethune Cookman." It was not. It was Merrimack, and Emily and I got to have a nice night and watch Auburn beat up on a team they've never played before. But he looks the part, man. He looks like he is all ready to be here, play with the big boys. And just I'm very impressed with Sway and what he will continue to do for this team as he develops.
Yeah, I think he's been the pleasant surprise because he's a true freshman coming in. But listen, this is a brand new team with opportunities abounding, and people want to seize it, do it, and he has been one of those here. I thought, Mech, as he's being called, Emeka Oporom, I thought he had a pretty good game too.
Very impressive.
With Keyshawn Murphy continuing to just have these little injuries and keeping him out from playing significant minutes, and at all in the last game. Talk about seizing opportunities. He did that, showcased his ability to get up and not just get to the rim, but to defend the rim as well. So I think a lot of the concern that I'm hearing from Auburn fans, Austin, is I'm so worried about we don't have a quote unquote true big man. Folks, I just need to pin this in. There is no such thing as a true big man. Your true big man is what fits your system. Just because it doesn't match up to the traditional, which I'm a big fan of, center, power forward, small forward, shooting guard, point guard. That's the traditional thing. Offenses have worked under Bruce in a variety of ways. People forget that Anthony McLemore was our big man during the main big man during the run to the Final Four the first time. And, that was I think he was 6'9", maybe something like that. Or Simeon Bowers. Right. I know it wasn't one of the best teams. He was all of 6'9", and he was the big center. Now he was big bodied and things like that. But I think people struggle with the idea that it has to fit this mold. It has to be Janai. It has to be Dylan. It has to be these types of players. And I just vehemently disagree with this concept that I just continue to see of not having a true big man. Whatever way works for your system is what your true big man is. And I think you see that with guys like Sway, guys like Emeka, who's a little bit skinnier, a little bit more lanky and things like that. Keyshawn Murphy is that guy. And certainly it's unnerving to see him continue to just have these little injuries here and there. But, I think those are the big storylines from the men's basketball side this week. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to hit on? Or
no, 2-0 for Stephen Pearl in his first season so far, 2 home wins. I'm sure he was sweating it after that first one with Bethune Cookman. But I
dreading that call from his father at the end of the game. Can you just imagine that?
I cannot imagine. But I think that they've shown some really good things and some things that maybe tempered some expectations for a lot of people.
Right.
Rightfully so, that this was going to take a time. That there is only Emily was flipping through the program and she said, "Okay, I really only know Tahad." And I said, "Well, he's the only one left, so that's okay." That is probably the vast majority of people, and so it's going to take some time. And thankfully, Auburn's got another tune-up game here with Wofford. That is a very good team out of the SoCon. They need to take seriously. I think that we've crossed that bridge. They know they're taking everyone seriously now. But it will be a very good one before we see them play against some elite talent. So very fun start to the season for Auburn. That Wofford game is on Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesday on Veterans Day. Okay.
Yeah. So gear up, folks. That's all we can say. It's going to be an exciting year one under Stephen Pearl. He continues the legacy of his father, but is creating his own legacy. And certainly he got off to a little bit of fireworks with a overtime win over Bethune Cookman and much more. In a challenging season for the Auburn Tigers, the men's basketball team. Let's cover the women a little bit here. The start also of a new era there with Coach Larry Vickers. Now, he had to go on the road to start. Now, look, we hear the name Charlotte, and you're like, let's be honest. Most of us don't know who is good or bad in women's basketball. The vast majority of the audience, outside of your LSU, your South Carolina, your Texas, your
UConn,
the UConn, the big names. Stanford has been in that. We know Auburn has been struggling to find its footing in terms of getting over into more of the respected categories as of late. Although, we talked about the coaching change a little bit back when it happened, whether we thought it was odd that it changed this year or not. The reality is we're here with Coach Vickers and excited to see what he's going to do at Charlotte. 71-58 overtime win. Both games to start the season go to overtime for them to get their first career Auburn head coaching. That's odd.
Has that ever happened? Like, I would love to know that. And I think that this has already been asked. I think it was Nathan King of Auburn 24/7 asked the same question, but I think he even said, I don't know if you can find that out. I don't know what database would have that, but two corresponding coaches of the same sport by different genders get their first program win in overtime. In their first game.
Yes. And can I add one element, not basketball? First game for DJ Durkin almost got an overtime win too. So I just
true.
The weirdness of this week was out there. All right, but back to basketball here. So the Charlotte overtime win, going on the road is always tough no matter where you go. And Auburn gets the win to start the Larry Vickers era.
But a good note there, though, is yes, obviously tied. I think they were tied at 56 going in overtime. Read me the final one more time.
71-58. Great point.
They dominated overtime. Absolutely. I was following that game. This is not a plug. I don't really care what your favorite sport's at, but I'm a big Apple Sports person because it puts the little thing. Look, I got one right there. Puts the little sports on my lock screen when it happens. And I'll be very honest right here. I did not pick Auburn women's basketball to give me score updates, but it happened. And I was like, I'll leave it. I like it. Yeah. And so I was following that game when it went to overtime. And then I saw the final. I was like, well, they said, we're going home. They kicked their butt and walked out the door. And so that's pretty impressive. And I want to get into that box score later on. Maybe we'll talk about in future games. We'll start seeing who's separating themselves as kind of the elite scores and box scores of the games. But I thought that was incredible resolve for them to go into overtime and just say, we're finishing this.
And you couple that with coming back for Alabama State, 82-41. I mean, just
wow. Slapped them around.
I mean, doubled it up, literally doubled them up. And I mean, look, it's happened before under previous regimes, whether it's men's or women's. That's typically what you're supposed to do to teams that are follow into the mid-major conference. You never assume, as we learned with the men, but a very mirroring weeks, overtime wins, slapping someone around at home for your second game. That's a great start to men's and women's basketball week one.